So did you shave your head to look like me?
I don't know. When did you shave your head? I guess we have to timeline this thing, right? I was 90 something
Yeah,
in the 90s.
you go a little bit shorter than I do, and I didn't do
Right.
it quite that soon.
Sure, fair enough.
Tradesmen built America. Not policymakers or desk jockeys, but hardworking, blue-collared men and women. Join me, Roger Wakefield, on conversations with some of the nation's most successful skilled laborers. This is the Trade Talks.
What made you want to get into plumbing?
And that's a great question. I mean, everyone growing up, my dad owned the business, but I'm one of 7 kids, right?
Okay.
So I was in the bottom half. I was number 5 of 7. And 2 older sisters, 2 older brothers, and they kind of had the right way before I had it, right? And going through the process, Dad brought them into the business a little bit here and there, but none of them really stuck. And all of a sudden, I'm like, I got out of high school. I'm like, I don't know, what am I going to do? And I said, well, I guess I'll try this plumbing thing. Dad did it, but we'll see what happens. So I went to work with them, and I started my apprenticeship, and I wasn't getting it. I'm like, God, I'm not sure if this is for me. Just working with mom and dad and working this thing, it's like, it's not cool. But all of a sudden, one instructor said, hey, man, you got to make a choice here. Where are you going to be at? What you're going to do? And my dad, the same thing. He said, dude, I get it. If you want to be here, be here. If not, I get it. And all of a sudden, I just started getting it. I just started looking at the code, reading the code. I used to be the kid in Apprentice that was sitting in the back of the room. And all of a sudden, I'm the guy in the front of the room asking the questions, answering the questions, and really becoming a real student of the plumbing code and of plumbing. And the kind of just went from there. So it was a great ride, great learning experience. And there's so many young kids out there that I kind of pass the story on that, hey, even though you don't know yet, that's cool. But it is an avenue and all of a sudden, something's going to click. And when that time comes, you'll know it.
And I love it. I used to, whenever I was an instructor in a union, I'd be walking down the aisles at the grocery store, and I'd see somebody stocking the shelves, because I'd go shopping in the evenings. And I'd kind of go down the aisle real slow and watch them, and man, they're humping it. They're focused, they're detail oriented, they're putting stuff up. It looks good. They're not goofing off. They're getting stuff done. And I'd get up close to them, and I'd look at them and I'd say, are you going to do this forever? And they'd be like, oh God, no. Mm-hmm. It's like, well, what are you going to do? What are you going to do when you grow up? And they're like, I literally have no idea. I'm thinking about college. I'm thinking about this. I hadn't found the right thing. I said, what if I told you that I could help you get a job in an industry where you can make $100,000 a year? You won't make that in the beginning, but you'll make more money each and every year while you get trained. It's not going to cost you anything to go. You're going to have no student debt when you're done. But at the end of at the end of 5 years, you can make over $100,000 a year.
Right.
And they're like, I'm interested in that.
Right.
And I would literally just hand them a card. I was an instructor at the union. But I hand them a card and say, look, I don't want to stop you from work tonight. Call me, in the next week or so.
Right.
Half those kids would call and say, I want to know about this.
Yep.
Well, it's plumbing, electrical. Plumbing, HVAC, or plumbing, welding, and pipe fitting is what we taught. And then we did have an HVAC section.
Right. And that's key. It's just having the knowledge out there. And sometimes, I want to be careful. Sometimes it's not about the money, because you could be paid $200,000 a year. And if it ain't for you, it's
a horrible job. It's no good.
Right. So then it's a job, right? Where what I do right now is not even a job. It's just what I do, right? Because I love it. I just love it.
What is it about it that you loved? You got into it. You're like, okay, hey, I kind of like this.
Right.
A lot of people, I don't think they ever get that. I think that they get a job and they're like, okay, I'm going back again tomorrow.
Right. I love the opportunity of different facets within this industry. And that's what my dad even told me. He said, because I was ready to leave the apprenticeship, and he's like, just get your journeymans and then do what you want. There's so many different opportunities within this industry. You can be a sales, you can go into engineering, you can go into the drafting, you can go into all these different aspects of it. But once you have that journeyman's card, that's your goal card. That's your pass goal. You got this.
That's your passport.
That's the
you
passport.
Can go anywhere with that.
Right.
And say, look, I'm a journeyman in this state. Can I get a job?
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
Can you get a license? Well, that's a different story in
We'll work on
49
that.
states other than the one I'm in.
Right.
But we'll find a way around it.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm out of Wisconsin, so we are definitely a heavily regulated, licensed state. So again, which if I can go anywhere in the country, basically anywhere in the world, and say, hey, this is my vetting process. I got to this point by going here. It's a pretty big ticket.
It is. So take a minute and tell everybody who you are and what you do in Wisconsin.
Sure. And my name is Dan Callies. I'm owner of a company called Oak Creek Plumbing and Remodeling in Oak Creek, Wisconsin. I always like to say it's a company so nice they named a city after us. Well, maybe not, but I'm second generation in the company. My folks started the business in 1972. And I was 7 years old at that point. I remember those days, and my dad worked for another firm and had opportunity, had an entrepreneur seizure where he decided, hey, right? A great plumber my dad was, not so much the businessman, but he struggled, and I shouldn't say struggle. I mean, sure, we all struggle in business at one point or another. There's something there, and this was during the 80s when interest rates were 18%. He was doing new construction that died, and so he had to downsize his business and bring it back. But anyways, back in 90, started working with him in 85. 96 had the opportunity to purchase the business from my folks. And right now we have about 30 employees on staff, and we do plumbing demand service and repair, and then kitchen and bathroom remodeling is our main focus.
And I looked at y'all's website. Y'all, kitchen and bathroom remodeling is a big deal for y'all. And all around the country, everywhere you go, you see these videos of, we can do your bathroom remodel in one day.
Sure. Yeah.
You talked about licensing in Wisconsin.
Yep.
So therefore that tells me there's permitting.
Correct.
There's inspections. Have you ever been able to do a bathroom in one day, do it right and legally, get it permitted, inspected, and turned all in one day?
Shorter. Yes.
Okay.
But
a complete bathroom remodel.
Not complete.
Pulling a tub out, redoing the tile shower. I mean,
the little secret when they say bath remodeling, they're talking about the wet location. They're talking about the plumbing to stay the same, and they're going to put stuff over the walls and they do a tub liner, a tub that goes over the tub.
Okay.
That's their definition of remodeling.
How many jobs like that do you sell a year?
Right. It's
none. Yeah.
Right.
That's not the right way to do it.
Right. It's a Band-Aid fix. It's a temporary look at something, and someone who doesn't. If you're really looking at the best value, you do a demolition, take it out, put something new in, and you start from scratch, and you can guarantee it, warranty it. Better options, better selections out there.
And some of the videos I've seen in Texas, they've got a bathtub. They're like, oh yeah, we can completely remodel this in a day. The next scene is the bathtub is gone.
Right.
There's a tile shower. There's glass walls or whatever.
Sure.
And it's like, guys, look, I've been plumbing for 44 years. That's not a one-day job legally.
Right. Yeah, then they kind of spin the words. They're spin doctors. They'll say, because what we did was this, but you have to get your plumbing done before we come in here. Right. So there's ways around that. They try to I shouldn't say mislead, but it just,
I'll say it, misleading.
Right.
He didn't say it.
I didn't
That was
say
all me. I'm not going to say false advertising, but that could be another word for misleading.
Right.
How long does it take to do one the right way?
Well, it depends on, of course, what's being done and the options you choose. But on average, for a bathroom, a mid-sized bathroom, a 5 by, let's say, 8 or 9 foot, about a week long. I mean, really, from start to finish.
But that's doing it right. It's doing a good job.
Right. Correct.
I'm assuming licensed guys are doing the work.
Right. Correct.
I'm assuming there's a permit being pulled.
Permits are being pulled.
I'm assuming an inspector comes out and actually looks at it and says, wow, gee,
and then
great job.
Right. And then we're bringing the specialty contractors, electrician, or someone else that needs to do that part of it. We make sure it's done.
And that's its own license.
And that's its own license.
And its own permit. And its own inspection.
Correct.
It's funny when you do things right, it takes a little bit longer than a day.
Right. Yes, it does.
You've owned the company, you said, since 86?
96.
96. So you've owned the company almost 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
What changes have you seen in the last 30 years in plumbing?
What changes? And what changes haven't I seen? Just between
everything's changed.
It is, and it's just in the way we communicate. I mean, when I first got into business, the fax machine was like, hey,
if you didn't have a fax machine, you're like, why are you even in business?
Right. I remember getting the first fax machine at the shop. It's
it was a big deal,
right? Then, of course, computers. I mean, the whole digital side of it, and the bookkeeping and the appointment setting, and then the communication with the techs in the field. Remember the old Nextel phones, the push-to-talks,
You bet.
the pagers, right? And that's kind of all on that's non-plumbing stuff. That's just all the other stuff.
That's all the ancillary tools that we need.
Right. So when I got in, PVC was that point. PVC and copper were your main forms of your DWV, and your water was copper. Of course, now we still have the PVC as far as the drainage there, but we've adapted the copper to different types of products with the PEX materials, the fittings on copper now with the Pro presses and such. So they developed efficiencies, because of most of what we have to do, we have to figure out a way to do more with less, right? I mean, with the labor pool going the way it is, and how do we do more? Our population is aging. We're going to have more of a housing issue. So how are we going to move things quicker and make sure that we're doing it still right, still proper, but how can we gain those efficiencies?
Okay, now we talked about Pro Press. We talked about new material, stuff like that. Do your plumbers still carry a torch on the truck?
Yes. In fact, the funny part, we're probably one of the few plumbers out there, we don't do Pro Press. And cause
I'm assuming you have one.
we rent one when needed.
Okay.
And the reason being, we're a plumbing demand service repair. Most of what we go into, we're adapting to what's there. There's a galvanized or maybe there's copper there. It doesn't make sense to have an inventory, a whole other set of fittings, a whole other set of stuff out there for that little application. Now, with that being said, yes, we have used it. We have gone, and we do a little bit larger repair job. You can't shut the water off the way you want it to. Yeah, we'll adapt to those situations. But the norm is we're going to adapt with either copper fittings or some of those other type of mechanical joints other than ProPress, right?
I do. I love it.
Right.
I literally, and I try to go live every Saturday when I'm at home, and I have some plumbers reach out to me and they're like, our plumbing company won't even let us carry a torch on the truck.
Yeah, right.
And it's like, what?
Right.
I mean, y'all understand this is part of the skill set that we have.
Right.
So, yeah, I think about that a lot. Now, we're at PHCC Connect here in Birmingham, Alabama. How long have you been with PHCC?
Oh, my goodness. I can't even remember day one. Now, again, second generation, my folks started. They were part of it before I was even involved in the business.
So, do you come to Connect every year?
Yes. And at this point, actually, I'm the president-elect coming into PHCC.
So you better come every year.
I better come every year.
If not, somebody's going to come looking for you.
Right. I'd be a derelict of my duties if I did not attend. But with that being said, man, look at the show. Man,
this is phenomenal.
Right.
I walked in the first PHCC Connect that I attended 7 years ago, Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Sure. That's
and
my hometown.
I was there with a marketing company that had done some work for me, and they asked me if I would come. So I come, and people are walking down the aisle, and I'm like, hey, do you own a plumbing company? Can we evaluate your website? And we could literally enter their URL, and he had a program set up that would look at it and say, you're not using your keyword enough, or you're not being found, or whatever it is. And it was really neat because right across the aisle from me was the apprentice competition. And I had never seen the apprentice competition outside of the United Association.
Sure.
And because I was an instructor in the union. And I'm watching this and I'm like, man, if I would have come up through the PHCC and had the opportunity to participate in this, because I'm a very competitive type person. It's in my DNA, can't help it. But I'm watching these guys, and I was so impressed and blown away by the quality of work that they're doing. And it's like, wait, these are apprentices?
Right.
The training PHCC has is phenomenal.
Well, it just because it's a networking part of it. It just tides rise all boats, right? So you're around the best of the best. You are going to be better. It's just the way it happens, right? I mean, you suck this stuff in, just these vibes, these conversations, this networking that takes place. It's this whole thing. And the true membership for me, for the value membership of PHCC, is the membership. It's in the this is great stuff here. All the training programs are great.
You bet.
But the real value is when I sit down at the bar and I'm talking to another contractor, I'm talking to another plumber.
I may have said that more than once today.
Right. My growth, my most teachable moments that I've learned as sitting at a bar. And that's where it's at, just talking.
That's where people get real about, hey, look, we tried this and it didn't work.
Right.
We tried this and it killed us.
Yeah.
But here's something that we tried that most people won't do, and we did this, and this was phenomenal.
Right.
And those are the conversations that I've had at best practice group events, different things like that. Believe it or not, there's normally a bar around somewhere.
For some reason.
And for some reason, people congregate there to have meaningful conversations.
Right. I call it school. But.
Yeah. And the neat thing about it is that is where you get some of the best information from people that have been there, done it, tried it, and can tell you what worked or what didn't work. And that's huge.
Right. It's made a difference in our business. I mean, those things that maybe we would have been able to navigate through them on our own or somehow. But boy, to expedite that learning curve, learn from other people's mistakes, and you learn from what their success is, and learn from those things, and just ask questions, be inquisitive, and just always what's that next step? How'd you get to here? Hearing you talk to the guy before,
Mr. Lindsay.
Mr. Lindsay, unbelievable.
94 years old.
What a story. And what he had to come through. I mean,
the
barriers that he had to go through to get to that point. We can't even imagine.
And getting to hear his story from so many different people.
Yeah.
To see them recognized yesterday with an award.
Right. And the inspiration, right?
94 years old. He's still the first one at work every day.
How could you not be inspired by that, right?
I love that.
Yeah.
I mean, I really do. I just think that's phenomenal. This video is sponsored by High Level. For your 30-day free trial, go to gohighlevel.com/Roger Wakefield. Everybody always asks me about social media. What is the one thing? What is the one thing? Now, do y'all do social media?
We do, yes.
Okay, good. I love that because a lot of companies aren't.
Correct.
A lot of people come up to me and they always say, what is the one thing you did? Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Being in PHCC, what is the one thing that you've learned that has been like, it is just a complete mindset shift for you?
Yeah, and that's a good, I mean, how do you take, that's like an elephant and try and put it down.
No, it is, and I get that. But everybody wants the silver bullet.
Right, and there's no, the one thing is there's no silver bullet, right?
The one thing is there's a million little things, and I did every freaking one of them.
But with all that being said, is under the best business practices, knowing your numbers, charging the right amount for what you need to, right? I mean, again, you can have the best technician in the world, but if you're not charging the right amount or no one knows about it, it doesn't matter, right? So how do you get that message out there? But how do you put the whole package together? Because if you have the best business side of it and you don't have the right techs and you don't have the right thing, your reputation and you can't get jobs, right? So it's got to work together, both sides.
And QSC is like y'all's version of a best practice group.
Correct, yes.
Okay? And the training is phenomenal.
Yes.
I've been associated with a lot of different best practice groups. Got to hear Robert Melko preach about QSC, and literally like if you don't know your numbers, you don't know your business.
Right, correct. It is the best practice part of it, and digging in deep. And there's gonna be some sleepless nights looking at your numbers and thinking, how am I?
It'll scare the heck out of you.
And you're looking, how can I charge that? And it's like, well, either you got to reduce your overhead, reduce some other costs, or go out of business. And there's so many companies out there, they're having to go on a business sale. They just don't know it.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
It's funny because I walked into a best practice group one time, and it was the initial week where they bring you into a bunch of training. And, of course, I walk in, and I'm like, look, if y'all can just make my phone ring, okay? I just need marketing. I need to make my phone ring. That's what I need to grow my business. And one of the coaches says, are you making money? Are you making profit on every job you go on?
Right.
I'm not sure.
Right.
He said, so you're not sure? He said, so you could be losing money on some of those.
Mm-hmm.
I said, possibly.
Right.
He said, so what do you think happens if we make your phone ring twice as much and you do twice as many calls?
Twice as much dead.
And I'm looking at him. He says, you're just going out of business faster and you just don't even know it.
Right.
And he said, there's so many things, little things like knowing how to set your price. If you're a plumbing company out there and you're thinking, look, I'm going to start out as the lowest price plumber in town and I'm going to get all the work, you're going to get more work than you want, but you're not going to make money.
Correct. Yeah.
And then when a good plumber comes along, you can't afford him.
Right. And it kind of sets the bad standard for everyone else out there, right? I mean, so people compare your prices to their prices, but they're not. It's not apples to apples, of course.
Ever.
But it's always that's the guideline. That's their benchmark, right? And the thing is, we've been in business, for 52 years now. We're definitely nowhere could we be the cheapest guy to provide that level. But we have a reputation there. And, not every customer's my customer. I mean, I have to understand, what? They're not for me, right?
That's hard for a lot of companies to understand.
Correct.
You see these plumbers all the time. They're like, if you've got a restroom at home, you're my customer.
Right. No. No. And that's fine. And we can deal with that, right?
You bet.
We can deal with that.
Some companies have no idea how to set their pricing.
Right.
They do, like you said, they'll call 10 companies around. Hey, I need a plumber. Can you tell me your hourly rate?
Right.
And they'll say, okay, you know what? I don't want to be quite as low as the lowest one, but I'm going to be just right by him. Yeah. And it's like, dude, you're headed out of business, right? And you just don't even know it yet.
And everyone makes educated decisions. And sometimes if the business is a little bit slower, you might have to take some of your margins away or give away a little bit of benefit. But, in the long term, you're going to gain because you're going to be able to recap that. But that you can't use that as your theory, right? I mean, that's an exception.
No,
that's a moment of time that,
it's
keep things
huge.
going. But it's a tough decision to make, but yet it could mean between keeping going or not. But it's got to be a very exceptional situation going on that you make that decision.
I remember walking into one of the offices of one of the companies in this particular best practice group, and I asked him, I said, look, can I come by and visit with you? I'm not growing or making money at the rate that I thought I should be by now. He said, absolutely. He says, come over to see me, bring your price book, and we'll talk. So, I show up, he comes in the conference room, I slid my price book over, he opened it up, he said, you need to raise your prices at least 20%. And I'm like, how can you tell that by just opening up to the first page of my price book where my pricing is?
Sure.
He said, I know this market that you're in. And what you're charging, you're not making money.
Right.
And I'm like, well, I'm making money, but I'm turning around and I'm investing it in YouTube and social media and all this. He said, I don't mind that. He said, you show me on paper you're not making profit, that you're reinvesting, I'm good. He said, but I know these numbers, and to do plumbing in this city at this price, you are not making profit like you should be.
Right.
And then you walk back into the office and you talk to your office manager and your CSR, and it's like, we've got to raise pricing 20 to 25% right now. And they're like, we'll go out of business. Mm-hmm. People are not going to hire us. Right. And it's like, well, we've got to learn to sell the value.
Correct.
There's a big difference in trying to compete on price, which is what Walmart and Amazon do.
Right.
Or compete on value, which is what Neiman Marcus does.
Right. And you want to do, how do you attract the right customers? The ones that are, you want relationship customers. You don't want transactional customers.
You bet.
Because transactions are one time, and your price wasn't low enough, I'm going to the next guy. And that's, again, everyone has different buying vibes, and I respect that. That's just not the company for us. The other thing with knowing your numbers is key. The PHCC makes a wonderful labor calculator. You punch your numbers in, you put your hours in there, and your inefficiencies, and be real.
You put your employees' names in
there, right? It goes down.
Robert Melko showed me that about 8 years ago, and that's where that came from that day. If you don't know your numbers, you don't know your business.
Right. And I run that formula every month on a trailing 12. So I'm always taking 12 months of information. Because you can have a bad month, you can have a bad thing, right? So you want to
hopefully you don't have a whole bad year.
Right. But if you do, you adjust.
You tweak it. You bet.
You adjust, and the little bit that you have to adjust, most people aren't even going to even notice if you update your price book. The other thing is kind of cool, and I just have recent of this with the AI, the Chat GPTs. I actually uploaded my financials into ChatGPT, and I said, based on this information and our efficiency rating of this, what do I need to charge to put a water heater in?
All right. Number one, I'm going to tell you, quit putting your information in ChatGPT.
Well, it's unnamed, but yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Right.
Your information's out there now. There's a product called Ask ROI.
Okay.
It's a closed. ChatGPT's open
Fair enough.
GPT. Ask ROI is closed GPT. It uses ChatGPT and
The engine.
about 9 other GPTs.
Okay.
But it's closed, so any information you put in is still your proprietary private information, but it gathers from all information out there on the internet.
Well, that's great to know, because I'll go down that path. But the thing is about the AI is able to bring up a thing like, it used to take me hours to kind of put this thing together. Now it's in minutes, right?
In just a couple of minutes.
In a couple of minutes.
It is. You can literally go through and set the prompts to where it knows every question you want to ask, every detail. It can go through and point out abnormalities.
Yes, KPIs.
Trends. It can point out so many things.
Yeah.
It's a game changer.
It is.
And a lot of people aren't even using it
Right.
yet.
Job descriptions, policies, step-by-step procedures, training, and all levels out there. It's a wonderful tool that if you're not tapped into that right now,
You need to be.
you need to be.
It's a technology thing.
Right.
It's
And just
it's
learning
coming.
from, I mean, you told me on another site that
You bet.
Just ask about it, right? I mean, very cool.
This video is sponsored by High Level. We've partnered up with High Level because we believe this is the best all-in-one sales and marketing platform to help you grow your business. For your 30-day free trial, go to gohighlevel.com/Roger Wakefield.
So here we are. We're at PHCC 2024, PHCC Connect 2024 in Birmingham, Alabama. Next year, we're in Grand Rapids, Michigan.
Okay.
And you're the president then
I'll be president at that point, correct.
at that one. I'm sure you walk around here and look and think, okay, what would I do different? I mean, next year's going to have your signature on it,
Right,
your
right.
name on it, your face on it, or
And in part, I'm not a legacy president, right?
okay.
We have our strategic initiatives, and I'm here to carry those forward. I can inspire, I can input, I can make things, but I'm standing on the giants.
Oh no, I've known a lot of those presidents.
Right. I'm on their shoulders,
You bet.
So this is
You're not coming into you're not handed a shipwreck
Right.
and say here, Daniel, fix this.
But we are always looking for more of the value membership proposition out there. How can we create environments and cultures to create the best atmosphere that we possibly can? And that's what this whole Connect thing is about. How can we, because people are taking time away from their businesses
You
to
bet.
be here. So how can you create the best value other than the networking? And that's on your own. You got to figure that network, people's got to figure out the networking and asking the questions. But everything else, the best business practice, breakout sessions, this trade show, how do we can bring in some other vendors or partners into here? That's what we're constantly looking at.
Well, I want y'all to invite me back to speak whenever y'all do it in like Honolulu or
There you go, brother.
or
Right,
something
right.
like that. I don't know. I was in Orlando a couple of weeks ago, and then I come here. It's like, wait, where's the beach at?
Yeah.
Where's the resort swimming pool and the swim up bar and I mean, people come here to really network and learn and grow, and
Yeah, correct. Come here with the right attitude.
it's right here in this room.
Without a doubt. Every question you have can be answered by someone in this room.
It really can, and if not, happy hour
Yeah.
at the hotel bar.
Right.
There will be somebody
They'll
there
be there,
with an
right,
answer
right.
for that too.
Fair enough.
What reason, if somebody's watching right now, that they've got an open shop company, they've never been part of a best practice group. I tell you what, when I first heard about best practice groups, I didn't even know what they were. They've never been a part of a best practice group. They've never been part of PHCC, a national organization that looks up for all the licensing, the politics behind it. And it just took a few years ago for me to figure out there's a lot of politics behind that plumbing license in your pocket.
Without doubt.
What should a viewer, whether it's a plumber, somebody wanting to get in the trades, or maybe a company owner, it's like, look, I'm not around people that know the right things. I'm not around people that can teach me. What would you tell them about PHCC and why they should look at either the national chapter or national organization or a local state chapter or something like that?
Well, first identify, maybe, are you in a place you want to be? And identify you need to change. if that's the case, your place. Some people are very content of where they're at and what they're doing, and sometimes they want to maybe get back to the industry, but a lot of it, if they identify a change that needs to be made, and there's got to be enough pain to make that change, right? I mean, so is it more painful to go out and seek, or is it more painful to die a slow death?
Yeah.
Right? But first of all, then having a mental capacity and commitment to do that. And then you're going to come here and you'll be drinking out of fire hose, right? I mean, there's going to be so much stuff, right? It just this information overload, and then how do you compartmentalize that and bring it out to chunks, and who can you figure out some mentors and some people that can help you navigate through some of these things. And I'm here, and I love that part of just being able. I see someone, maybe a little bit coming up, and just how I can help them out just a little bit, right? Just whether learn from my mistakes, or maybe, hey, we tried this worked. But first of all, it's the attitude of growing and learning, and if you have that attitude, this is an incubator for that, right? This kind of grows it. This is a little petri dish of stuff that you can tap into.
So good,
right?
So one more question, and again, we're at PHCC Connect. If you hadn't been there, go there. This video has been sponsored by them. If you're looking for a CRM for your business, Go High Level. Go to gohighlevel.com/Roger Wakefield. Help you stay in touch with your customers. Do you use a CRM or something like that where you're communicating with your current customers?
Yes, definitely.
It's huge.
Again, you need to do it. You need to do it. There's different levels out there of depends on what your database is like. But find out and develop a partnership. Talk to your other members. Interview a couple different firms out there, and there is a right one for you.
And I love that. The second one today that's talked about that. They're not just looking at these services available. They're interviewing people and asking questions. It's not just walk up to the booth and get sold to.
Correct.
It's walk up to the booth and say, hey, wait, here's what I'm looking for. Yeah. What can you do, or how do you do it, or how's this going to help me?
And the old thing out, if you want better answers, you better ask better questions.
Boy, isn't that the truth? I love that. I love that. So as you look around, all the people walking, you've been here for a few days now. How many mentors have you had that you see in this room or that you've walked around?
I can't even quantify it, right? I mean, being in this position, there's hundreds here. And through the past presidents and all the other directors, and then even some of the mentors are our partners, right? The people who sell the products,
we learn
engineers
from,
and the manufacturers. I mean, there's mentorship everywhere here. You just have to look for it. And
I love that. Well, congratulations on being the incoming president. I hope it's amazing for you, and hopefully I will see you in Grand Rapids, Michigan.
All right, brother. I love it.
The end of it, like a year and 2 weeks from now, because it's like a couple of weeks later.
Correct. Love having you here. Thank you for all your support to our industry and what you do beyond this, right? I mean, you're out there for the word of the plumber, of this industry, and what you do is invaluable, and I cannot thank you enough.
Thank you.
I love it. And I love your haircut.
Hey, it works out pretty good.
Nice little washcloth in the morning.
It's really easy.
All right.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
My pleasure.